Welcome to this week's edition of Black Authors Matter TV, where we interview the latest movers and shakers in the African American literary community. You'll meet some old friends, discover new ones, and stay abreast of the latest book developments around the country and even the world. So sit back and relax for the next 2 hours with Black Authors Matter TV co-hosts Gwen Richardson and Dr. Rhonda Lawson.
Good evening and welcome to another episode of Black Authors Matter TV. I'm your host for tonight, Gwen Richardson, and my co-host, Dr. Rhonda Lawson, has to work late today, so she won't be on the show. If she comes on, it'll probably be like a miracle toward the end, but we don't expect her to be on. But we have an amazing lineup of guests like we normally do, and we appreciate you all tuning in. So some of the comments and all of that, because I have to do double duty, I may not see everybody's comments, and so I'll do the best I can. So at any rate, I hope you all are staying warm with all this cold weather. In Houston, we dodged a bullet. They were saying we might get snow because we rarely get anything. But it has been cold at night, like in the 20s. But the precipitation we got was before the temperatures dropped. So we didn't get snow and ice and all of that like some places did, and all the heavy snows. So you all that did get the weather, stay safe, stay warm. If you lost power, I hope you get it back on soon, because not having power is really, really not good. We are really dependent on our power, and we don't realize how much we're dependent on it until we don't have it. So a couple of housekeeping notes. One, my book, my 2026 edition of my book about debt-free college is out. This one is the proof, but I've approved it, and it's available on Amazon. The paperback and the Kindle version are online for purchase. And there are over 300 scholarships. It's real money. And also quite a few, at least 50 paid internship opportunities. Scholarship providers are saying that people are not applying for the scholarships as much. Their scholarship applications are down. It's free money, and people just aren't. I don't know why they're not applying, but there's money out there. Go get it. Apply. And before we bring on our first guest, I'm sorry. I'm a football fan, as you all know, the ones who watch the show. My team is going to the Super Bowl. I'm wearing my shirt. Now, I'm going to stand up so you can see it, but the Seattle is green, and my green screen is blocking it out. But go Hawks, and I'm very excited about that. So we're going to bring on our first guest, Nicole Glover. She's new to the show. This is her first time, and she writes fantasy mysteries. Excuse me. She has a new book out called Star Seekers. And do you have your book handy, Nicole, so you can show everyone the cover? And so this is her first time on the show, as I mentioned. And welcome to Black Authors Matter TV.
Hi, happy to be here. It's always fun to come on these things, talk books and all the fun things around it.
Yeah, so you write young adult fiction, or is it is it categorized as YA?
And it's categorized as adult, but older YA will have nothing wrong with it, because I don't have anything too graphic or too sexual. My mom reads these books, so
okay,
nothing too bad. So I think there's some crossover appeal.
Okay, because I was thinking it was young adult.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why. The cover just, to me, had that kind of feel to it. Did anybody else?
I think it might have like a fun. I think because it's quirky and fun, that might what you're getting from it. Sometimes it's. I guess with fantasy, you have it either has to be the extreme epic fantasy where the world's ending, and of course there's a rise of cozy fantasy right now, which is different.
Oh, okay. So it's like cozy mysteries, but cozy fantasy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you're the first cozy fantasy author that's been on the show, and we've had a lot of guests, so over 800. So, but we had cozy mystery,
mm-hmm.
authors, but I didn't even know cozy fantasy was a thing.
It's been a while. It's been around technically, but I guess we finally got a name for it more recently. I guess
Oh, okay.
we kind of named the name, but even though lighter whimsical fantasy has been around for decades and so forth, we just haven't really publishers hadn't started marketing cozy fantasy as a thing,
Okay.
like
It
kind of like
has its
compared to
own
cozy mystery and
sub
other things like that. So,
subgenre. There's
hmm
so many subgenres now. Probably because of Amazon.
Yeah, most likely. I think because we all, as humans, we like to categorize everything, and we
Yeah,
want to get, and especially now since we have everything's more personalized, we want to get this really niche about things. We want to have specifically this story about like a private detective who's like into teacups and like lives in the sea. We want really specific genres like that now, and that's reflects on
right,
how we market and how we talk about books as well.
right. And Amazon, when you upload your book yourself, if you self-publish under
hmm
KDP, and I'm sure they do this with the major
hmm
publishers as well, but you have to pick three categories. Well, you have to
hmm
pick the first category, and then you
Yeah.
have to pick a second and then
hmm
a third. So a lot of people, I think some people even go deeper.
Yeah, they
And
do.
because I've seen some
hmm
categories that are so specific that
hmm
probably only two books are published in it. And sometimes people will
hmm
say, I'm a best selling. No, everybody now is a best selling
Yes.
author on Amazon.
hmm
It's like it doesn't mean anything anymore.
hmm
Now, if you the New York Times still means something because those
Yes.
are store sales and they're adding them up. But on Amazon,
hmm
it's so narrow and so specific,
hmm
and somebody can create an eighth level niche,
Yes.
and then they're number one. Well, why
hmm
wouldn't you be? You know.
Right, right.
So um, but I'm glad to hear
hmm
about the cozy fantasies being
hmm
an actual genre now.
Yes.
And now is I know you had another book before this,
Yeah.
but
Three.
which number book is this for you?
This is number four. It's all part of a series. It's a
Okay.
loosely connected series in the sense there's different main characters for the books. The first two of the
Okay.
books follow different characters. Number three, improvisers, it follows another character. Because it follows the same family throughout time. So the first two books are set in 1870s Philadelphia, post Civil War Reconstruction era. The number
Okay.
three follows the granddaughter into 1930s. And so with this one, I take you to 1960s, following another member of the family.
Oh, okay. Now, what was the one right before the Star Seekers?
The
What was it?
improvisers.
Improvisers. So now, what made you think about doing
Mhm.
this series?
I'm a nerd for history. I grew up in Virginia,
Okay.
and if you know anything about Virginia, it's around all a bunch of historical stuff. So I
I'm
kind of
from
grew up
Virginia.
with, yeah.
I'm from Virginia
So
originally.
you know,
Mhm.
there's history
Lots of
everywhere.
history. Hmm.
Yes, and so I
So,
kind
what
of
part of Virginia did you go? Where are you from?
well, I guess I'll back it up. I'm military, so we moved a bunch of times around Virginia. So I
Okay.
spent some years in like Manassas, Northern Virginia area. Spent some
Okay.
time in the Hampton Roads area, and
Okay.
right now, my folks are in like the Fredericksburg area, which is kind of just the midpoint between Richmond and then Northern Virginia. So kind of
Hmm.
the main areas like that. So I got to like a lot of exposure to Civil War and Revolutionary War stuff, and all my
Hmm.
field trips. All the different places around everything. So just kind of
Right.
growing up with history, soaking in all that stuff, and just being just kind of curious about this stuff to begin with. It got me thinking about like what kind of stories I can tell about these things, and especially since my parents had that famous portrait of Harriet Tubman with with the rifle above our fireplace. So I always saw that a bunch of times, thinking like, what's these stories, and just kind of absorbing all these different stories and movies and things like that. I started thinking like, what is the Reconstruction era time period looking like? And my first book, The Conductors, was kind of started out as plain historical fiction. It was just going to be about the former Underground Railroad conductors who decided what they do afterwards, basically. And I had a hard time figuring out what that story could turn to be. And I think it ended up at one point, I was like, why did I add like magic to the story? Because I grew up reading lots of fantasy novels. I love magic, wizards, all that fun stuff. And slowly added the mystery part kind of fell in place. So I had this mashup of history, fantasy, and murder. And from there, the story started taking place because I used the mystery element as the engine of driving the plot. And I kind of built in the characters kind of came into the world. I blended in, and I got to have fun blending the magic with history. In some ways, especially when I wrote that first book, having magic allowed me to be able to approach history in a way I hadn't been able to before. Like going even though diving into the darker curls of history and things like that. And from there, I just continued doing research. I did not just research in the 1870s, but further down the decades. And so initially, I had those plot bunnies for the 1930s and 1960s. And so as you know, as I got the chance to be able to do 1930s, 1960s books, which actually just were started out as just pitches to my editors.
Okay.
And and the Star Seekers in particular came about because I love NASA and astronomy and astrology, all those things. And it's kind of apparent as you read through the books because the magic system involves constellations. You see the constellations throughout the books. And so, like, the Star Seeker is the pinnacle of all these things I got really nerdy about, basically. And just my interest in history, but interest in science and just exploring these aspects of history and things that we don't talk about. And I especially focus on kind of more like the private, quieter, domestic lives of the characters as well. This is not the big flashy moments of history. It's more about the smaller moments with inside these things going on.
Did you have when you did the Star Seekers,
Yes.
did you have the Hidden Figures people in mind?
Oh yeah, I mean
You
that's
know,
actually kicked it off. Hidden Figures got announced just as I was thinking, I'm writing a 1960s book. So what should it be about? And Hidden Figures came out exactly when I needed it to come out because not only did it, spark the idea of what the characters could be, it gave me so much access to research because Hidden Figures, like it got everyone's fascinated by it. So they started kicking out a bunch of books, a bunch of articles, a bunch of resources came really available to allow me not just to look into Katherine Johnson and the other ladies that are highlighted in the movie, but all the other ones that we don't really talk about as much, that don't get as much shine as well. So it was really fun for me as a researcher and a person writing to be able to have all this great resources in there as well. And particularly since NASA is very popular, is very documented. We have a lot of resources about the Apollo space missions and all the other things from that time period, especially since a lot of these missions are still within living memory. So that was really helpful as well.
okay. Yeah, I'm from Newport News,
Mm-hmm.
and the women from Hidden Figures, that was all happening
Mm-hmm.
close to my hometown,
Yes.
and we didn't know about it. I mean, nobody knew about it.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody knew them. I didn't know them at all. We didn't know about them.
Mm-hmm.
They were in a different part of like Newport News that was further north, the
Mm-hmm.
northern part.
Yes.
But still, it I didn't find out about these women
Mm-hmm.
until they made the movie. And then
Yeah.
when I found out they were from, NASA with Newport News,
Mm-hmm.
we went to NASA on field trips when I was
Mm-hmm.
a kid. We went to Yorktown.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't know if you've been to Yorktown, but
Yeah. I
where
have.
the Nina, the Pinta, and the Santa Maria, those ships, the
Yes.
replicas of those ships. So we did a lot of field tripping
Mm-hmm.
around the area because there is so much history
Yes.
there. And Jamestown, we went to Jamestown, which
Mm-hmm.
was one of the first colonies that were well, like first town or whatever
Yes.
within the Virginia area.
Mm-hmm.
So Virginia has a lot of history. And it used to be that it had more presidents than any other state
Yes. It did.
for a while. I don't know if that's still the case, and that's because a lot of the early presidents
Mm-hmm.
were from Virginia.
Right.
So, do you have I'd like to see the covers of the other books.
Kind of like you can kind of see them behind me a bit.
Yeah, I see something. Yeah. So if you could show them, like, so we can like see the common thread or the differences
Mm.
between them. Are you able to do that?
Um, let's see. I'm trying to remember if I had anything.
You have anything handy
Yeah, I mean, let's
within
have
reach?
this
But if
one.
not, you can slide back and get one of each.
Yeah.
That's not a problem. Are
Right.
you You're connected to? Okay,
Yeah.
I get it. I
All
get
right.
it. But I'd like the viewers to see the covers, um, so they could see the common threads and especially since it's a series. If you have them handy. Um, okay. So where are you located now? Just
I'm in Norfolk.
oh, you're in Norfolk. Okay,
Yes.
yeah, that's 30 miles from Newport News in the
Yes.
tunnel, going through the
Tunnel
tunnel.
adds another, 20 minutes maybe, depending on the time of
Depending
day.
on traffic.
Yes. So,
Yeah, when I lived there, the traffic wasn't really bad, but it's gotten a lot heavier now
yes, with all
in
the
recent
construction.
years. So okay, so book number one,
Yes.
okay, the conductors. Oh, okay. See, that lets us know that it's about Harriet Tubman or that
Yes.
like the Underground Railroad
Hmm.
and all of that. Okay.
Yes.
That's a great imagery.
Yeah, I just wanted to make
It's,
sure that there's like a bird that's supposed to be the magic in front of it.
okay,
There's like
okay,
the constellations. I really wanted to get the elements of history and fantasy in it because the one thing about when you talk about covers with publishers, they talk about they ask you ideas, of course, and you
okay,
have meetings for this. That's what you want to see on these things. And so I was able to share some ideas and some Pinterest boards of what I thought could be really make really good for the cover. And I really was adamant having the main characters on the cover, and this cover is Hetty, the main character for the book. And so I
okay,
really wanted to emphasize this is a black girl doing magic, black woman doing magic and stuff.
okay.
And
All
so this is
right.
another Undertaker's kind of is another kind of take. We have seen some
Uh,
similarities. You have some of
Okay,
the
the
same similar
Undertaker.
images.
Now, is that a funeral business? Is it?
Yeah. Well, yeah,
It's
it's in the
or is it
second
a
book
double
is
entendre?
yeah. Yeah, it's
Okay,
a yeah, through because they
okay,
did with Dead Doll, as you find through the first book, they some things certain things will happen. So by the second book that they come into acquaintance of an undertakings operation, basically.
okay,
So that's
okay,
a so it's a pun on that as well. Not only just a business undertaking, but undertaking these mysteries as well.
okay.
And
All
so we
right.
have a jump with the improvisers. So like I said, it
Okay.
mentions the 1930s is very Bessie Coleman inspired
Yes. Yes.
because
Okay.
Bessie Coleman was actually one of the first like non-civil rights, non-under so Civil War kind of era black person in history I kind of learned about. So I was
Oh,
kind of really
okay.
fascinated by her because it's more about how she moved throughout life, just making her own way, basically. And
Hmm.
so that's how I took inspiration from the main character of this book, which is Velma, who, among many things, is, a pilot, a former bootlegger, a barnstorming pilot, and, investigates murder mysteries, so kind of following her family. So with the improvisers, you get to see the evolution of the world from the first two books and seeing how the family has grown around her. I even have a family tree tucked in here as well, which is always kind of
Oh,
fun.
okay. Well, and also, flight is related to the space and
Yeah,
NASA.
flight
That
is a
was
big theme
before
throughout
before
through
the travel to outer
yeah.
space.
Yeah, flight is a theme throughout all the books because even in
Oh,
the
okay.
first two books, I have stuff like, have air balloons and there's birds and things like that. And of course, with the improvisers, yeah, she has a plane. You see her fly throughout the entire book. And in the
Oh,
Star Seekers, which it has, if you might
yeah.
notice on the cover again, there's a broom on here because she flies her broom around as well, and it's also the rockets and everything as well too. So flight is a major theme throughout the story. It's something that kind of happened by accident and it's one of the things I kind of
Okay.
realized as I was writing. Oh, this is a theme because I guess maybe because I was always interested in flight, and I remember as I was doing the research for conductor, they came across Virginia Hamilton's "People Who Could Fly," she's a children's illustrator. She kind of collected folk
Mhm.
stories and folk tales like that. And those she had a collection of the titles of the collection of these things. And the title story was People Who Could Fly. And I was really fascinated looking into the history. Oh, how flight was a big deal. Flight because flight was escape, flight was going elsewhere, and things like that. And it was always a symbolism of potentially not just sprouting wings, but just going escaping. And somehow that's like a theme that kind of weaves in the story subconsciously as well. And it kind of it was something that worked really well throughout, I found without each book I wrote.
Oh, okay. You have a very active imagination to come up with all of those stories like
Yes.
that. It's very, very
Mm,
admirable. Um, and that you pursued something that you'd always
mm,
had interest in, even as a young child.
Yes.
What did you get your degree in, or when your educational background? What did you decide to pursue for your education?
Oh yeah, I went into psychology because I'm
Okay.
interested in people, what they do, what they think. And that's always because I always wanted to write books. And I think psychology just made sense to me. Even, yeah, sure, I can get like a literature degree or something like that. But
Hmm.
psychology was interesting to me, I guess, because by ex understanding, looking to people, it helps me figure out the characters as well.
Okay. All right. And you don't.
I'm also a tech person as well, so kind of work in a tech
Okay.
sphere. So and looking
Okay.
into how the things are designed around us. So all these kind of things kind of feed into how I write and how I kind of build the world and the stories.
Wow. So, so you don't write full time yet, do you?
It's ideal, it's oh, I mean, currently because of the way the tech things are right now, I am, but not ideally. Again, it's a fun thing. I like having a foot in like different worlds as well because one, it's like I like to problem solve and like doing other things doesn't takes makes it makes writing is fun at the same time. But in an ideal world, yeah, if the money's coming frequently, that sort of thing, yeah, writing full time is also great as well.
Okay. So did you because your books do have the YA feel to them.
Mm.
So have you pursued the YA audience, like the high school reader, or basically is your reader an adult?
Mhm.
And who reads your books? That's what's your primary reader look
Yeah,
like?
I think because that's one thing I've noticed. There's a difference like between YA and adult stuff for some. I guess mostly it's not just like the target audience. It's like mostly how the story is presented in certain speeds and things like that. And I think marketing towards adult is, I guess it's the broader scope of things. I can capture the younger readers as well. I think it's mostly because I based on the fact that as when I was a much younger reader, I was reading things, technically above my age range, but it was still I was able to, understand and approach these things as well. And I think, and I guess I wouldn't, these stories are, all the characters, they're in their late 20s, early 30s sort of thing. So that's, it's very
Okay.
directed for the adult demographic, for things, for, I guess people wanting, I guess a different version of like a fantasy or a light affair with a cozy side of, a splash of coziness and whatnot. And the approach of like writing for a younger market is be different. I'm actually more interested in writing middle grade, particularly middle grade fantasy, because I think that's more whimsical when it comes to magic. If you think of I guess children's books you kind of grew up with, like things like Narnia and things like that, have that more whimsical side of magic that you don't really see in like YA fantasy.
Okay.
Interest, it is my opinion. I guess also because I feel like it's kind of fun. I think I've mostly been kicking around middle grade fantasy ideas. I got a niece. She's 2 years old now, 2.5, and so I guess one of my goals is to be able to have a book out for younger readers when she's old enough to read the books for her on her own, that sort of thing. And that's I've been enjoying like playing the auntie, like reading books and things to her and whatnot, just to kind of just enjoying that side of things as well. And so it got me really interested in writing, how I would think of when I think of future writing projects. Oh, something in like middle grade or younger might be really great. Because I think also if you start looking at the more of the books are out there for younger readers, like someone like the smaller, thinner books, like I would remember reading as like chapter books read as a kid on is one as popular these days. There's more bigger middle grade fantasies. In some ways, or even like bigger like YA books and stuff too. I think some of it because adults have been reading like to the YA market as well, and that's how some of the books got a little bit bigger. Somehow some of the characters have changed. There's been some discussion about how like sometimes that characters, particularly for women writers, their books have gotten like aged down so they could be in the YA even though they tend to be older and things like that, which is interesting from the publishing side of things and from the writing side of things, but I guess it's a long way to say I'm interested in writing for middle grade and potentially younger ones because I think it really fits how my interests in writing styles.
Okay. So do you have an opportunity to do that, or have you
Not
pursued it
yet. Just
directly yet?
I mean, there's been busy with writing different things. I have like a list of ideas and it's like it's still like it's like number 9 on the list of things to write that I'm thinking about writing basically, and I'm actually we're currently writing to turn something in pretty soon. as right
Okay.
now. So it's like there's always a bunch of lists. But I guess I like having a list of ideas that I want to get to because it gives me something to look forward to when I'm working in one particular project. 'Cause I like to say like I have a list of ideas that never like disappear because I'm always have something new that comes to mind. Often when I'm writing something, that's when I have a new idea. As always, when you're in the
That's
middle of
true.
something, a new idea pops up that tries to distract you from what you're working on. So I use that as like a motivation to get to something. And also it's a good way to measure how interested I am in an idea if I'm getting drawn to something else and that sort of thing.
Did you do any self-publishing work first, or
No.
did you immediately go with the you got an agent, you get
Mhm.
an agent and
Yeah, it
you
took a
went that
while, but I just wanted to pursue traditional publishing because one of
mm,
my kind of goals was like get into a library, and it's much easier to get into a library if you're
mhm.
traditionally published because of all the space, all the systems in place. So,
Right.
it took a few years, to find an agent to figure out what book to pitch, basically. I think The Conductors was like the fourth or fifth book I've actually pitched to an agent. And a lot of the
Oh,
earlier books were like, I guess they probably shouldn't. It's probably good they weren't picked up because I was still kind of learning like what kind of story to tell and what all those things basically. Because being able to pitch the other ones taught me what to look for, how to research agents, how to research the market, or even just to figure out the story that I really want to tell.
oh, okay. So you had, do you still have those books that you pitched
Yeah.
before that didn't get picked up?
Yeah.
Those end up being one of the four in the series, or are they like on
Uh,
your laptop or shelf or
Yeah, they're
whatever?
basically on my laptop. I stuck them in the folder, like basically saying it's old, and they're tucked
Okay.
in there. I think I may have gone back and like pulled up like a scene or two or looked back at the scene or two and maybe took some inspiration from. Because I
Okay.
find, I might forget some other things, but I tend to remember nearly everything I've written, and like I kind of whether it's a particular scene or a mood of a scene, and I can usually go back and pretty easily enough figure out the file and I can pull out that segment or chapter that I can like kind of pull into the new document and kind of refresh and like make it fit into the world. 'Cause I think I guess there's also you tend to write. I always say there's no wasted world. That's why I always tuck stuff into different like and dump them to empty Word documents because there's something else I had written that I can like reframe. And I've done that the books I had published, that happened several times, different scenes I'd written previously of things that didn't get finished or I didn't publish or this didn't work out for that particular story, but I could take parts of it that I could basically reframe for the current story I'm telling. Basically, because I remember this seed and idea, because there was certain like either it was like part of a scene or a mood of a scene or a certain element of that I was able to pull in and kind of just make it work for the story, and it actually worked out better. And it's always just fascinating how your mind works about certain things. At least how
Mhm.
I was just fascinated how like different parts and kind of come together. Because the revision part of like remaking stuff is the most interesting part to me, the most fun part for me as a writer. Because the part I hate, getting the first draft done, getting all the words out is the hardest part because you have to just pull out everything out of the ether. But the revision part means I have everything out there. I can start thinking and thinking over, turning over, and like reconsidering things and how it comes together, and sometimes realize how maybe sometimes even the sequence of how these scenes or chapters are done might not be the way it should be. Like I might end up flipping things around or combining characters. Like even just today, I was actually it's like taking like two characters, I basically kind of combined them to one character, or took certain aspects of one character that I kind of added to another one because I realized, oh, my initial drafting, I had added extra things that I didn't need, or wasn't quite working the way I thought it would. And I think it's to me just how it comes together and how differently a final draft is to the very first thing you wrote is always the most interesting thing to me as a writer. It's particularly because a lot of times I write in a notebook. So I remember when I got my first book published, thinking back, here's my very first notebook that I wrote my first ideas down. And now I have the printed book and how differently things have changed between characters and different drafts and stuff like that. It's like, particularly with the Star Seekers, which I guess it's kind of close to 10 years since I was writing it because I got an idea around when Hidden Figures came out. But I put it
Okay.
aside because I published the other three books in between. And so that first rough draft I did, my had initial inspiration had changed a lot by the time I got to this book because not just the information I got, but and also just writing those other books, getting it to fit in that world and how that kind of works the world building, works with the character that I kind of set up. And so that a lot of these things changed enough that's only really like a couple, like the main character and her cat, basically the only thing that kind of stayed from that first book. to the first draft, to the final draft. And that's fun for me as a writer to see these changes and kind of experience these things, and looking back at the old drafts, like, oh, this is terrible. I'm so glad I was able to make this better.
Yeah, it seems like it's a psychologist in you
Yeah.
too that
Yes.
does that. We had one comment from someone, and then we're at the end of our time. One of our viewers said that you were giving great advice for new writers. It's very informative. So, congratulations, Nicole.
Yes.
Let people know how, of course, your books are available wherever books are sold.
Yes.
But if they want to connect with you, how do they on social media? What are your social media handles or
Yeah,
whatever?
you can find me on Instagram as at Nicole Glover Writes. I'm on Blue Sky as Nicole Glover. And because social media comes and goes, you can always find me at my website,
Yeah.
nicole-glover.com. Yeah, you can find my updates, and I have a little newsletter and things like that you
Okay.
can keep up with me.
Okay. Well, congratulations again.
Yes,
And we hope to see some more published work from you in the near future.
sure hope so.
Okay. Have a great night.
You too. Good
All
night.
right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay. Well, for those of you who tuned in a little late, Rhonda had to work late tonight, so she won't be on the show. So I'm doing double duty and appreciate your patience. Also, my book, my 2016 edition of my Deputy College book is out now. This is the proof, so it has that line through it, but it's available on paperback and Kindle version on Amazon. And make sure when you go, you can pull it up by my name. Just pull up Gwen Richardson, but it's purple. And so make sure you get the 2026 edition because I change the color every year to distinguish them. And the old versions, some of them are still there. I think the last three are still there. They're different, other colors. So look for purple if they don't come up in order. So our next guest has she's not a stranger to the show. She's been on, I believe this is her third appearance. I think it may be the second or the third. She probably remembers better than I do. But Suzetta Perkins has been a winner. She won the Black Authors Matter TV award last year for, I forgot what category, women's fiction.
Fiction,
No,
yes. Uh-huh.
it was made, well, I think it might have been mainstream fiction or whatever it was. I don't have we had like 16 categories, so I don't have everybody's category in my head. I do know who won every category. So, I mean, every winner. So, welcome back to the show.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for having me. I just appreciate you allowing me to, showcase my work and so forth, and it's just been a privilege. And I want to thank you for this opportunity.
Well, you're welcome. And I know you have a new book out
Yes.
and you have a copy of it handy.
Yes, I do.
And it's called One L Hyde Place. Now, I was curious about the title, and I'm sure I'm not the only one.
Yeah.
So, what is L Hyde? Where did that come from?
It's actually an address, okay, and it's really pivotal to the story. And
Okay.
I like to be different, and so I came up. I said, let me do this. It doesn't actually tell the story in itself, but it is pivotal to the story.
So does it have like does L Hyde stand for something? Does it have some kind of hidden meaning or
No,
no?
no. In fact,
Is it somebody's name?
no, it really isn't. I think my girlfriends and I one Sunday after church, we always go out to eat, and we were talking about places, and I think one of the girls was talking or had mentioned that they would always hang out, and she would always use this street name, And I said, oh, it wasn't L Hyde, I just put L, and L is like lower, you have lower, you have east,
Oh,
west, So
okay, okay,
that's my explanation. I had to come.
okay. All right. I said this has got to have some meaning.
No, it
Okay.
doesn't actually.
Okay. All right. Now, this book Christian fiction or is it just a what disgraced pastor as a main character.
It's kind of a disgrace pastor as a main character. I wouldn't put it in that
You
category
don't write Christian
of
fiction.
Christian fiction. Yeah.
Okay. Per se. And then because there is a specific thing that people are looking for
Right,
in Christian
exactly.
fiction
Yeah. And
now.
it probably could cross over, if you
Mhm.
will. It probably could cross because I do, you know, showcase elements of, being in the church, even though that's not the main subject or the main plot of the story itself. So,
Okay. So he sounds like he's pretty egotistical and doesn't want to admit his flaws.
oh yes, very
Just
ego. And
from the description of the book that I read,
yeah,
he
yeah,
sounds like
yeah.
a real piece of work, but not uncommon.
Right. In fact, when they get in those leadership roles, a lot of times they become, you have that reverent power, if you will,
Yes.
and I've experienced it with a lot of bosses that I've had, that reverent power, that comes into play when they're leading, even though they might not have come in necessarily with that attitude, but I think it's just a characteristic, of a person who's leading or in leadership, in big leadership, at a CEO or whatever. But yes,
It can, it happens to small, well, I won't say small leadership, but people, even some people who have small congregations
yeah, mm-hmm,
still get the big head.
yeah,
And I'm
mm-hmm.
a PK, so I can say anything about preachers that I want.
Oh, look,
Because I grew up in it from day one.
yeah,
I've I've been in church my whole life, but I lived church, from a
yeah, yeah,
child. My
right,
whole family, church was what we did all the time.
yeah,
And so,
yeah,
and my brother ended up, my brother who's passed, but he
mhm.
he was preaching at like 5 years old. Like he was a born preacher.
Wow,
He
wow.
was a born preacher.
Well,
Uh,
I grew up Church of God in Christ. Okay, so
oh, okay,
I was,
Kojic.
I was
Yeah,
born, I'm coaching girl, and there's still coaching there. Now I go to a missionary Baptist church now, but
the
and because
Kojics were on another level.
they were on a different level.
They were
Yeah,
on a
but
different level.
once I grew up and got grown and all of that, and followed a husband on a military in his military career, I've had experiences with other, denominations and so
Mhm.
forth. So my thing is, going where the word is being preached,
I
and
agree.
so, and
And
so
well, also where the pastor is living the word,
yes, there you go, there you go. That
because
you said it best.
yeah,
Mhm.
that is um the most important thing.
Yes,
Because
yeah,
you can't lead people if you're not living the word that you're teaching. You just can't. You're just a hypocrite
exactly.
and a bully, you
Yeah.
know.
And
You
so
know.
with my character, Maxwell Washington, he was a character. He was a bully, and you
Okay.
kind of get, I mean, you can determine that for yourself throughout the story, even though I give a little, I wouldn't say a hint, I give just a little bit of his background prior to him being appointed pastor of this particular church, way back in his, in his early days, I would say after college and what have you. Just a little glimpse in it, and it comes out as one of the characters, his wife, actually tells his story to someone else. So,
Okay.
mhm.
Okay. Now, when you were last on, which has been maybe a year and a half, I want to say maybe
Yeah,
2 years.
hmm,
Um, I don't. Was this story bubbling? Was this like percolating? Was this?
I actually wrote this book about 2.5 years ago. And
Oh,
and the
okay.
reason why, yeah, the reason why I did not publish it right away is because I was writing Black Diamond probably at the same time, because
Mm-hmm.
anyway, and so what happened was when I finished Black Diamond and people started reading it, oh, they wanted the next part of that series. They want to find out about Reese, Gypsy's niece. And I thought about it, and I thought about it, because I had actually completed One L High Place. And I said, you know what? While this is um, um, when people are asking for that, and people, I mean, from uh this book club to that book club. And I said, you know what? I'm already started it. I put down a few little things. I said, let me write this story. Not that I knew the whole story at the time that I, decided to write it. But I says, you know what? While this is hot, I said, let me go on and write this story, because Reese deserved a story. So that's why I went on and finished it and put One L Hyde Place on the back burner. It was done, but it wasn't edited or any of that kind of thing. And so I just happened to pull it out because I want to do another story. And I said, you know what? I got that book sitting back there that I wrote over 2.5 years ago. And I says, I need to pull it out and so forth, even though because of my upbringing, I was like, "Ooh, should I really, publish this book?" But the reason, I know you didn't ask me, but I'll tell you the reason I actually,
Yeah, tell us.
the reason I wrote this book in the first place, because that wouldn't have normally been me. But I had been asked to be to come to Shreveport, Louisiana, for a book club. They were hosting me down there. And the person that actually was the catalyst to bring me there, I knew her from Durham, which is close to where I live now. And she had transferred down there, her job. And so and I stayed with her. And so on that first day, she took me out and drove me all around town and what have you. And then we saw the casinos downtown and all of that. And then she took me past these I think it was a couple Black churches. And, so she was telling me just a little bit about them, and I can't remember if she went to one of them. She probably did. However, it wasn't even but 2 or 3 weeks later, after I had a ride back home, I was watching Ilyana, I want to say it correctly, Yana Van. Uh-huh.
Okay.
You know how long it's been, and since this happened, and by George, she mentioned Shreveport, Louisiana. So it caught my attention. I always watch the show anyway. And so then she started talking about this church, and it was a pastor and his wife that were her guests at the time. And I'm like, what? And when she named the church, I said, oh my God, that's one of the churches I passed by. I didn't go in or visit or anything like that, but my girlfriend, as she was carrying me around, had pointed that one out. And so I listened intently to find out what in the heck was going on. Did they, have summoned Yana Van Zant, And so Yana was giving a little synopsis of what had happened there. Well, the pastor had an affair with about half the members of the church, ladies in the church, and had children by some of them. And so she looked at the first lady, well, why am I here? What do you want me to do? And so the lady said, well, I want to save my marriage, and Yana looked at her like,
what marriage?
And Yana looked at her like,
why?
Boo-foo the fool? Because I'm like looking at her, and I'm on the TV, other side of the TV. Are you crazy? And so she's, what that woman said? That woman said, and I put it in the back of the book so that people would have something to understand why I wrote this book. Okay. That woman said, well, I want to save my marriage, but I want to still, be able to park next in front of the church next to the pastor. This is what that woman said. Okay.
Well, but that makes sense to me, because some women, like I said, I'm a PK.
Mm-hmm.
Some women get caught up in that whole first lady aura and what they perceive to be an elevated position, and they're not humble. It's all about attention and being in the limelight. And I'm going to share something personal. My mother, was the first lady her
Mm-hmm.
whole live while she lived.
Mm-hmm.
And my parents were married for 46 years before my mom died.
Wow.
And my dad, my mother was old school. She was my mother was a saint. That's what I'm gonna say. She was a saint because
Mm-hmm.
some of the things that she had to deal with were um, I wouldn't deal with them. And she told me and my sister that we wouldn't have to do that. We should get an education so we
Mm-hmm.
had more choices. Anyway, my father remarried uh, a couple of years after my mom passed. He did a respectable 2 years. That's
Mm-hmm.
so the person he married was there for the come up. And
Mm-hmm.
she was not a young woman. She was close to his age, but
Mm-hmm.
she was there for the come up. That was it.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of women perceive the role
Yeah.
basically as you're really a showpiece, or it's not about the people.
Mm-hmm.
My mom was a first lady of the highest quality, I would
Right.
say.
Right. Mm-hmm.
She didn't seek limelight,
Mm-hmm.
and she cared about the members. You know
Right.
what I mean? It
Right.
wasn't about her.
Right.
But a lot of women, and then when men, the men, when they're a pastor is an eligible bachelor until he marries.
Right.
And a lot of women chase pastors like they do athletes or entertainers. They
That is
don't care. They don't care he's a pastor.
so true. That is so true.
They just, hey, if I can get him, I can be first lady or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
when women are throwing it at you as a man, okay, I'm
Yeah.
keep it clean.
I'm following you.
Women are throwing it at you. It's hard for a man to say no forever because that's just how a man is.
Yeah. Yeah.
When women are constantly throwing it at you,
Yeah. Yeah.
that's hard for
Yeah.
the average man. You'd
Yeah.
have to really,
Yeah.
you would have to really make it so you're not in it. You would have to completely avoid any situation where that could even come up, and that's not easy to do. But
Right.
you can do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
so your character, I'm sure, is one that people have seen in different places. Was that Ariana thing? Was that the show that she had? I don't remember the name of it,
It
but when
was
she would
it
be
was
fixing people.
Fix My Life. Yes. Fix
Yeah,
My
okay. I saw
Yeah.
some of those episodes. I
Yeah.
didn't. I
Yeah.
don't know if I saw. I didn't see that one because I would
Mhm.
have remembered her wanting to
Mhm.
have the parking space.
Yeah. Yeah, I just said, girl, are you serious? I was talking to
some,
the TV like she could hear me. Girl,
some
are you
women, they
and she
just
was still going to the church. I'm like, are you
see
serious?
the humiliation. It just will be humiliating. But she was
Yeah.
more concerned about her position than she
Yeah.
was about
And
anything
I guess wasn't thinking like that. I was thinking like a woman. And
else.
so
Okay.
like my character, my female, I said, no, write a strong black woman. Okay. That ain't gonna
Okay.
put up, she gonna put up with it. She gonna put up with it, and for a
For
certain
a minute.
you know, because she adored this man, she loved this man, and he was her whole life. She didn't work. They had a young child. She didn't work or anything like that. And so she was dependent upon him. But I gave her some gut. Okay, I gave her some. She ain't gonna put up with this crap. But what you're saying is so true because I saw it even in my own church, at home church. And my pastor, this particular pastor, he, I don't know if his wife had died yet. Maybe she did, but anyway, but the women, I'm like, I didn't even know they had it even in them.
Oh yeah.
Like,
When they become available,
yeah,
even when they're not available,
right, exactly. And
but
and
when they actually are available, it's like an athlete or entertainer or something.
Right.
And
Yeah.
I said when I was growing up, after I became an adult woman,
Yeah.
I will not marry a preacher. If they asked me, I would say no. If my husband got called to preach, I'd have to give it some thought.
Oh,
I lived that life under a microscope in a fishbowl where
yeah.
everybody's looking at you all the time and in your business and
Mhm.
telling you what you should be doing,
Mhm.
instead of being concerned about what they should be doing.
Mhm.
Um, I didn't want to live that fishbowl life
Right,
as an
right,
adult.
right.
So,
Yeah,
um,
in fact, that particular pastor, not to get away from the story, but that particular
no.
pastor, he was my dad's age, and my dad would be talking, they were talking, oh, you got to take that Viagra. I'm like, Daddy, no, you ain't talking to y'all, that ain't your conversation. And he ended up with a young person who was really my age at the time, and she was like
Oh,
younger. But he was the kind of pastor that you kind of gravitated to. With the young people, we gravitated to him for whatever reason, but we did. But I know, but he had them from all the churches, honey, coming, trying to approach him to get, I guess, his hand in marriage. It was crazy.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's a different world. I
Yeah.
mean, people don't realize how different it
Mm,
is if they don't live it.
yeah. Yeah.
It's because
Yeah.
even with our family, all
Mm,
of our family friends were preachers and their
mm.
wives. And
Right.
so we grew up with the kids of
Mhm.
other pastors as
Pastors. Yeah.
our friends,
Uh-huh.
that were in, and we had other friends too. But
Hmm.
most of my parents' social
Right.
life
And that makes
was
sense.
with other pastors because you
Mhm.
really can't socialize with your congregation. It's
Right.
kind of like being a boss and socializing with your employees.
Right. Right. Right.
You have to have like an arm's length relationship.
Mhm.
But on that Ayala show, the only one I really remember is the one with the black guy that had. Oh, this is about to book, but that had like 17 women. The one that was on there, it was 17 women. He had children by 17 women.
Yes, I think I remember. I don't remember all the details, but I do recall that because I used to watch that religiously.
I
But
watched it up to a point, like
yeah,
because I watched it up to the point where I said, Ariana can't fix these people.
no, 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 she can't. And they would cuss her out
It's
and
too far gone. And what they got too much baggage. He had 17 women he had children by and was willing to publicly talk about it. And the women were on there.
that
Um,
that's reality
I,
TV. Look,
I
they
know. I was like,
this is
and
ridiculous.
some of them were born like pregnant at the same time. Several of them. It was like three of them the children were born the same year. It was a big. I'm like, well, how? And he wasn't even good looking. I'm trying to say, what was this guy? What was it about him that
Right,
made these
right, right,
women?
right, right.
I didn't get it. Anyway, um, from what is your main character's name in your book?
Maxwell Washington.
Maxwell Washington.
Have you
Okay.
seen any of my little videos? My son put together some really great videos.
No, they hadn't come up, they hadn't popped up on my, some
Okay.
stuff has to pop up
Yeah. Well,
on
I'll
YouTube.
send it to your page.
Okay, yeah, tag me on something.
I'll tag you. Yeah. I'll
Then I,
tag you.
then I can share it.
Yeah. But
Mhm.
yes.
So now what city is the setting for your
Well,
book? Or is it a fictional
I
town?
I, I was debating because you don't want to you don't want to put it in somebody's city that So what I did was I said, well, certainly couldn't be in North Carolina. So I made
Okay.
it in Jackson, Mississippi, and
Okay.
it's on the outside. The town has no name, mind you.
Okay. Okay.
I have it
It's
like
on the
maybe.
outskirts.
Yeah, on the outskirts of Jackson, Mississippi. And the reason why I chose that, because one time I was a few times I was there, but I remember this one particular time I was there with visiting a book club. And they were telling me some juicy stories. And I think I put one, well, there's a court case um, in this particular story. And so the secretary of the church, she was, the main gossiper, I guess you would call her. She was sharing things that had happened, in the church. And this particular person, she says, "Oh, you got to write this story. You got." People always give me, not that I utilize most of them, but they always give me little tidbits. "Oh, you got to write this and da 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 da." But it was about a member of one of the churches in Jackson who died, and they didn't have enough money to bury him, so the church raised some money and what have you, gave to the family. But the relative of the person that died, this guy that died, well, he was a grave digger. And so like late at night, he went to the graveyard. It must have been a black graveyard. They said it was like, $250 to bury him. I said, "Are you serious?" This is like 2014 that they were telling me this. And
Okay.
so he went at late at night and dug a
They
grave.
got whatever they
They put
had
that
on them.
food in it, and they went and partied, or they had the what you call a reception afterwards. That's what
The
they used the money
repast.
for. Yeah, the repast. That's what they used the money for. So I put a little tidbit in there. I said, because I have to make. I have this comedic side of me, and so I said I had to, when this sister Pretty May was telling her story, I had to have her to tell that story, on the witness stand, and everybody was cracking up. And I was cracking up as I was writing it. I said, I
Yeah.
that girl that told me that story, I said, but, and of course I embellished it because I really don't remember the story, how it went, but, that kind of thing. So, and the one thing I did want to say, Gwen, was that the funny thing is that the day this book, because they kept sliding it, because I had no problems with getting my cover stuff together, because I do my own covers,
I
and
know you told me that. I was going to ask you if you did your own cover for
I
this
did
one.
that one, yeah. But what
Okay.
happened was, anyway, it ended up being published on the 23rd. That's the 23rd of December. That's when it came out.
Okay.
Okay, I think it was a couple of days after Christmas. I don't know if you saw it on Facebook about this woman, first lady, who killed her husband. And I'm like, "Oh my Jesus." I said, "But let me check." Because people, all AI, and people put all
That's
kinds of
true.
false crap
It's a
all
lot of
over
fake stuff
everything.
on.
Yeah, fake
Yeah.
stuff on
It's a lot
what
of
you
fake
call.
stuff.
So but then it kept coming, and then there was news reports out of I think it was in Alabama, Montgomery, and it was, it kept coming, and people were posting on it. And so I went outside, to Google and whatever, to make sure this story was true. And it was true. And the woman killed the husband, the pastor. He had just preached his Christmas sermon or whatever. She killed him on the day that my book came out. And I'm like,
Oh.
"Oh my Jesus." Because sometimes people say, I know, like in my last book, one, and it's somebody I know, well, all of this, Reese couldn't do all of this. Honey, I have receipts. I don't write have receipts. I do. I had to go in there because it's about this. The Reese was a designer, dress designer, and she was in high school. On Tamron Hall, she had these young designers. She always had designers on her show, and there was this young girl that made dresses. I think she made a dress for somebody for the Oscars or something, but she was designing and actually went to New York, New York Week and all that. And, I'm like, I got receipts, I ain't gonna put nothing that, I don't know anything about, but I was just and so it happened. I'm like, I was just so flabbergasted at this story. And I remember I said, I just wrote a story. And I said, "Girl, why did you write that?" And then I said, "But while this story is true," I said, "mine is fiction," And I'm like, a little plug, but
Well, truth is stranger than fiction,
it
and
certainly is.
that is the fact.
It certainly is. It
So
certainly
we're
is.
at the end of our time, Suzetta. It went
Oh
by
my
so fast.
God.
Yeah, but show us the cover again and tell people how they can get a copy of One L High Place.
One L High Place. One L High Place is available on Amazon.com. And you can also go through my website, which is SuzettaPerkins.com, SuzettaPerkins.com. And all my books are listed, and there is a link to Amazon through my website for each of my books that I have. And
Okay.
you can also hit me up on, of course, Facebook and Instagram.
Okay. Well, congratulations on which number book is this for you?
20.
Wow. 20th
Yes,
book.
yes,
I'm
yes.
working on book 16.
Yeah.
But yeah, but I write a variety of genres. So I only have two fiction and the rest is all kinds of stuff. This one is nonfiction. It's a how-to book that I'm working on.
Okay,
I hope
okay.
it will be out by June. That's my
You
target.
actually submitted, you were in the running up for NAACP a while ago, weren't you?
Well, I've gotten 2 nominations. And
Yeah.
they were both nonfiction.
Okay, yeah, because I said, oh, Gwen, yeah, and because I have followed you for a long time. Oh, and I'm just so excited because I'm actually coming to the National Black.
You are, that's right. I get to meet you in
Yes.
person in October.
I said,
That's
yes.
wonderful.
I said, I'm a go. I have handicap issues, and so where I used to jump on a plane or whatever, all the time, I don't do it as much, unless I have, help with me, but I said, you know what? I am going to do it this year. However, I get there one way or another. Lord's going to provide, okay? But I am
Okay.
excited about being there.
Okay. I'm when you signed up, I was excited because I get to meet you finally in person.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, well, take care. Happy New Year.
Thank you.
And
Welcome.
congratulations on your 20th book.
Yes. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. And I just appreciate you so much. And you always are acknowledged in my books. Do you have a copy of this?
Not yet. So
Okay.
I will be getting one.
Okay. Or otherwise, I'll send you one. Either way.
Okay, I appreciate that.
All right.
All
Okay.
right, take care.
Hey, thank you. All right.
Good
Bye.
night.
Good night.
Okay, for those who are tuning in late, we are moving right along with the show. I'm the only one on tonight, and Rhonda had to work late. So I'm doing solo tonight, and we have our third guest coming up. Her name is Edwina Dorch, and she has a book series. I think it's 3 parts to it, but she'll let us know. And she said she was working on them all like at the same time, but the first one I think is what she wants to talk about, but we'll find out. So as soon as she comes on camera, hello, Edwina, welcome to Black Authors Matter TV. And make sure you unmute so we can hear you.
I'm so little. Hi, Gwen. I'm just working with technology there.
Oh, you're fine. You're fine.
Can
Now,
you
are
see
you
me?
that? Oh, yeah.
Can you? Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Am I big enough?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're fine. The size, it depends on where the camera is. There's all kind of factors on size. How far you are away from the camera or close to it has a lot to do with it, or the way the camera zooms in. But it's no big deal. It's everybody looks different. So it depends on their setup. So don't worry about that. Now you're not in Hawaii or an island, are you? That's a image behind you?
Yeah, that's an image. It gave me the possibility of choosing an image, and I chose this one. I'm in Florida.
Okay. Well, that could be somewhere, maybe in Florida.
Yeah. But this is just one of the set of images.
I know. But it looks nice. You look like you are vacationing or having fun and relaxing.
Well, that's what that's what the trilogy is about.
Okay, so tell us about your book. Do you have a copy of your book?
Here it's a trilogy, so there are 3, but
Okay,
let's
now
see.
you
How do
need
I
to
get
put it
that?
close. Try putting it close to your body.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, see, that's what makes it work.
Can you see it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you can see it now. So it's called The Artist and Her Lover.
Right.
Now
it has a subtitle which is a travel romance trilogy, part 1, 2, and 3. So it's a travel
Okay.
romance.
Okay. All right. What made you decide to do a travel romance?
Um, let's go with the first part of it, which is the artist.
Okay.
I am an artist. Um, I'm a naive artist. You know what naive artist, that term
No,
means?
no.
A naive artist is a self-trained artist. Many artists these days go to a fine arts school. They get a
Okay.
bachelor's degree in art. I have a degree. I have a bachelor's, a master's, a PhD, like all of us baby boomers have these days, but it's not in fine arts. And so I never got a degree in art, but I'm self-taught. I
Mhm.
believe it's a gift. I believe it comes to me naturally. Um, so it's the first part of it is the artist, and that's who I am. And the book is kind of autobiographical, but there's some embellishments as well.
Well, a lot of first books, or even future books, subsequent books are autobiographical. So that's
This
what
the
it said.
trilogy, because there are three, I will have
Okay.
written 8 books. I have written 8 books.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
So this is your sixth, seventh, and eighth.
Yes.
Oh, okay. All right. Were the other ones fiction? Were they, uh,
Um,
or were they?
I like you, I cross genres, which,
Okay.
if you have an agent, thank God I don't have an agent. She would have warned me not to go cross genres. So my first book was about colorism, right? Uh,
Okay.
because colorism is kind of a neuroses in the Black community. We got issues with color, with skin color in the Black community. So my
Well,
first
it's
book was about.
also global too. I mean,
It
it's
is.
mhm.
It
but
is.
it's in our community as well, but it's also global.
Yeah. So the first book was about colorism. And it was called Vanilla, Cinnamon, and Dark Chocolate because of Moda Lake Jones, who is a poet. She wrote a poem that was called Vanilla, Cinnamon, and Dark Chocolate. So I
Hmm.
stole that from her. So
Okay.
that was the first book. And then the second book was a children's book, and I illustrated that book. And it's really a Hansel and Gretel in Black children and urban kind of
Is it a
book.
Hansel and Gretel in the hood? Or
It's Hansel and Gretel in the Hood. Exactly, Gwen. You're right on. Um,
okay. All
so the
right.
second book was a Hansel and Gretel book.
Okay.
And then the third book was a YA book. And if you remember Archie, I don't you may not be old enough
No, I
to
remember
remember
Archie.
Archie,
The cartoons,
Veronica,
the
Veronica and
cartoons,
Betty,
and the
right?
comic books.
There was a comic book,
Hmm.
and so I wrote a graphic novel, and that graphic novel was to present a Archie, Veronica, and Betty in black.
Okay.
So you can see
Okay.
it's my total reaction over time. All of these books that came to me in a certain way, I switched them so that they were done in color. Color, shall we say. And then my next book was a murder mystery. Uh, my brother's children were killed one by one, and we needed to find out, and the police needed to find out why each of his children were murdered. And so it's sort of semi-autobiographical as well, where I'm sort of proposing who it could have been.
Oh,
So
were
that
they
was
still close together, or I
I
mean,
did one book each year where
oh,
I
no,
retired.
you said your brother's children were killed. Were they
Yes, they
killed
were
close together, or
very, very close together. very close together. Each of us, each member of the family has a different idea about who, what the perpetrator was, and the police have ideas about who the perpetrator was. No one has been arrested as yet. But he had three of his children were murdered, and his grandchild was murdered, was shot in the head and left for dead, but she survived. So that was something
boy.
that I wrote about as well. So that was a murder mystery.
Okay. Wow. In your book, were children killed? Was it young people? Did you kind of use the same facts or the same situation to write a story around, or did you change the story
Nope,
altogether?
didn't change a thing. Wrote
Oh,
everything by every fact I could find.
oh, okay. All right. Well, this is just a horrible. It's hard to
Was.
fathom, wrap your arms around that, wrap your mind around it.
That's the
So,
world we live in, Gwen.
yeah, it is. It's still hard to wrap your mind around it, when it's very close, especially. But um, just when you said that's the world we live in, one of the most unusual, tragic situations. I sing in the choir at my church, and sometimes we sing for funerals at the church. And this man killed his whole family. There were 5 caskets. And I think it made national news. This was maybe, I want to say 7 or 8 years ago, something like that. But and I don't know if he killed himself. I can't remember. But he killed his wife and his 4 children, shot them all. And they didn't, our church is large. And so it was just seeing 5 caskets. They didn't do open casket for any of them, but just seeing 5 caskets at, at a funeral is
And
just,
and mass murder is unusual for our community. Unless it's
well, I think,
gang related violence, mass murder is
right,
unusual.
right.
Right.
Well, it was our community in that he was black, but the wife was white and the children were biracial.
Mhm.
So I don't know if I can't remember if this was an ex-husband or just like he wasn't really living there. I can't remember all the details. As a matter of fact, as I'm thinking about it, I think he broke in, so he wasn't living there. He broke
Mhm.
in and they had an argument, and then he shot everybody, killed everybody. So anyway, it is unfortunately the world we live in. Um, but then your next set of books seems like it's a little bit lighter
Oh,
in terms of
yes, it could only
it's a
be lighter.
romance. It's a romance.
Yeah, so it's a
Mhm,
travel romance.
mhm.
Um, uh, it's a trilogy. It's a triangle, a love triangle, a little bit of spice there.
Okay.
Um, yeah.
So is uh, each of the 3 people in the triangle featured in the 3 different books, or is the triangle in all 3 books? How did you write it?
I wrote it so that because I knew there were naive artists all over the world and in the Caribbean, I made it so that when she went to Jamaica, she interacted with a intuitive artist. In Jamaica, naive artists, self-trained artists are called intuitive artists. In Haiti, naive artists, self-trained artists are called market artists. So in each country, they give them a different name, but it really means self-trained artist. It means that you don't have formal training. And so she goes to each of these places in the Caribbean. She also goes to Puerto Rico. And in each of these places, she seeks out and meets men. She meets artists who are naive artists, self-trained artists, and becomes romantically involved in each country that she goes to.
Oh, okay. All right. So that's the common thread they have. That's something that they share. They both share a love for art.
Yeah. And the
Or
way that they're
artistry.
trained, a certain
Mhm.
type of art.
Okay. Now, you said you did a graphic novel
I did.
as one of your projects. And do
Right.
you do art for other people? Do you do it as just a hobby that you do that you enjoy yourself? Or how do you utilize your art?
Um, like 5 years ago, I retired, Gwen. And when I retired here to Florida. And, we bought this beautiful house, and I sat here at my desk. I no longer had work to do. I was just sitting here twiddling my thumbs, and I began to draw. And my husband said to me, I didn't know you could do that.
Really? You heard that from him? Oh, that he didn't know that was in you.
He did not. I did not. I
Oh,
That's why, there is an artist, he's no longer living, named Kwapo in Jamaica, who believes that naive artists, intuitive artists are they receive this gift through the collective unconscious of Africa. It's passed on to me in my genes. My art doesn't reflect European style. So my art, its style, is something that you would see in Africa. How do all of us get this African figures, African setting of our art? We get it through the collective unconscious. He believes, and lacking any other explanation, I believe it as well. Um, so anyway, I got it because I didn't have work to do, and I thought, what will I do with myself? And I began to paint, and so I began to paint before I began to write. And so over the last 5 years, I have done the covers for half of my books, uh, did that graphic novel, did the children's book, illustrated the children's book, just because it's in me, Gwen, and it needed to come out, but it waited to come out after I retired. So,
well, that's when you really had the time to pursue it.
right.
Sit down and do it. And now, what did you do before you retired? Well, and you said you have a bachelor's, a master's, and a PhD. So, highly professional. So, what did you do for your day job for that you retired from? Like,
Well,
what was your industry or career?
When I graduated with a PhD, I went to the University of Hawaii, left the University of Hawaii, and moved to Los Angeles, taught for the University of California. Then I moved to New York and taught for SUNY Albany. And then I moved to Texas and I taught for Texas A&M and retired out of Texas A&M.
Oh, okay. Now, what did you teach?
I have a degree in psychology, but to get a degree in psychology, you have to take a series of statistics courses. And because we have such a rigorous statistics course, which everybody hated as we came through, but I was picked up all of the time because I could teach stat because I had had that training. And and it was a blessing to me, Gwen, because if you can teach stat, you can move from department to department without any problem because nobody in any department wants to teach stat. because most students hate it and most professors hate it. And so you can just always have a job. So it was a blessing to me to have been trained in that way.
People say that I love statistics and probability, but I started off in something that I should never have been in, which was nursing, and so I switched to business school, and that was one of the classes that we had to take. I liked all of my classes in there in business school. There wasn't one that I didn't like, but I really love statistics and probability because it's so much like real life. It's like the odds, the chances of something happening, or it's just the numbers of how things flush out. So I really loved it and I did well in it, and I had a really good professor. So
You had a really good what?
professor.
A
I don't
professor.
remember her name. It was a female, but she was a really good professor. But a lot of people say I hated that class. Oh, it was so hard. Statistics and probability was so hard, but I found it to be very easy. It was just real life to me.
Well, one key to it is that you'll hear people say a number. They will say 50% of X, Y, and Z or 10% of X, Y, and Z. Unless you know that denominator, you really don't know what you're talking about. That's
Mm,
10 out of 100, 10 out of 1,000. What are we talking about here? So you got to always know that denominator. It's my very first class. I teach you what's the denominator? How many are we really talking about, right? So you begin there with stat.
yeah. Well, also, is it self-selection or is it random? There's a lot of factors when it comes to
Well, now
statistics.
you're into research methodology, which I also taught research methods at well.
Oh, okay, okay. So that's probably the furthest from art that you can get.
And see, I had spent my whole life in this very abstract, mathematical, scientific world. And then I retire and go straight to the opposite,
Well, you went straight to where your gift was, where your first
straight
love
to
was.
what I should have always been
Ben,
doing.
yes, yeah, that happened. But it's good that you were able to have a career that allowed you to retire and do what you wanted to do. Some people never get to do that,
Yep,
you know.
yep. I'm blessed.
Yeah. So who's the main character in your book, the trilogy? Is it female? Is it a female main character?
um, the artist and her lover, so we know that she's
Okay.
the female person.
Okay.
Her name is Autumn, deliberately named Autumn because, right, all human beings, but females, have a spring when they're in their 20s, and they have a winter when they're getting close to passing on to glory. But she's Autumn. She's in the middle of her life,
Okay.
and she hasn't had children. So when she's in these other countries meeting these other men, she has this in the back of her mind that, for females, you have hormonal changes, and you go through the phase and it's over for you. So she's got a ticking time thing going on there while she's traveling.
Oh, okay. Now, are her lovers, without giving away spoilers, but is she looking for men in her same age group, or is she looking for a younger man to, like knock her socks off?
Ostensibly she's looking for other artists.
Okay.
Uh,
Okay.
and
All
and
right.
and the other artists come in, many shapes and sizes and ages and
Okay.
etc.
Okay. All right. That's interesting. So she's in Jamaica, she's in Haiti, and
She's in
then she's in Puerto
Jamaica.
Rico.
Well, she's in Hispaniola, which is an island. On one side of it is Dominican Republic. On the other side of it is Haiti.
Okay.
So she leaves there and she goes to Puerto Rico. So she's in those 4 different islands in the Caribbean. But in part 2, she's in Italy and she travels from Italy to the Sahara Desert, where she meets a Berber and he falls in love with her.
Okay, so she's just traveling and with her artistry and meeting other artists.
Right. And I don't know another Black female. You deal with so many authors, Gwen, you may know. I don't know another author who is a travelogue person, writes travelogue novels. Um, I know people who are bloggers who write, Black female bloggers who write about females traveling, but I don't know any. I have even searched and couldn't find any Black female um, novelist who are travelogue novelist who write about, a female traveling around the country.
Okay, we have had there is one, but she doesn't write novels. Um, and I
See,
can't call her name right now.
that's what I'm
Yeah,
saying is
I
that
can't call her name
there's
right now.
is a difference to write a magazine article or a blog
Well, she
versus to
writes
write a
books,
novel.
but her books are actually about travel. They're not novels. They're not stories. She's been like to like 100 and something countries, and a lot of her travel is by herself. Can't call her name. She did like the girl. It was a Black woman's guide to travel or something, and she did a part 2 that came out about a year ago, and she just talked about all the places she'd been uh, and how she's not wealthy, but she'll spend, 2 months somewhere. And she said, when you get outside of the United States and Europe, a lot of places are not expensive to stay.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
She said a lot of the countries is, compared to, and the options are different too for where you can stay. So, but we're not a novelist. We have had travel.
Well, I was an admirer of Somerset Maugham, and he was a travelogue writer, and he was a British person. He wrote about being in rubber plantations and, tropical island places. And so I had read all of his short stories, and I really feel like all of those remained with me because, Jamaica and Haiti and Puerto Rico, they have that kind of island feel. Now, he was in Malaysia and places like that.
Okay.
So it was a different area of the world, but the same kind of foreigner in a foreign land. How shall I make my way in another country?
Okay. Yeah, I've been to Jamaica several times. Well, all of my Caribbean travel has been on cruises. So I've been to Jamaica maybe 5 or 6 times, and I've been to Haiti, but only the part of Haiti it's a private island that Royal Caribbean has called Labadee, and that's the only part of Haiti I've been to.
Well, you probably didn't go and seek out art and learn the difference between what intuitive art looks like relative to European art.
No, but they did have a market, a hate with Haitian natives where they had their crafts and art. So I was able to see that.
Well, the teacher in me wanted other Black females around the world to know that, in Haiti, look for intuitive art, uh, understand what it is, what you're looking at. Here in the United States, our most famous naive artist, self-trained artist, is Cynthia St. James. You
Oh,
may not know.
no, I know who she is.
Yes,
Her name
yeah.
starts with an S. Cynthia is spelled with an
Beautiful,
S.
gorgeous work. Okay, it's probably to my eye the most beautiful, naive artist in the world. Um, and so if you remember that style is so distinctive. We need to be respective of it. And we need to recognize it when we see it. And we need to say to ourselves what the difference is between that art and if I had been trained in European art style, figure, shapes, uh, and perspective, color, that what we do is so distinctive.
I agree. Well, we're at the end of our time, Edwina. So show your book cover again so people
Yep.
can know about the book. Put it close to your body, The Artist and Her Lover. And it's a three-part travel romance. So, and you did the artwork, correct?
I did it's this time I was using technology to help me do the artwork. Before it just been by my hand, but this
Okay.
time I was using technology to do it.
Okay. Well, thanks for being a guest on the show and congratulations on your book.
Thank you. I appreciate it, Gwen. Appreciate you.
Oh, well, you're welcome.
Thank you.
I do what I do. I've been doing this a long time. I've been working with books and authors. I've been reading since I was 4. And so it's all, it's like you with the art. So,
Well, not everybody can do things that you do as well as you do them.
well, thank you for that. So
Yep.
have a great night.
You too.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay. Well, we are having our last guest for the night. And as I mentioned, Rhonda had to work late, so she wasn't able to do the show tonight. But we've had a great lineup and all very interesting guests and all very distinctive. And our final guest is Beronda Montgomery. This is her first time on the show. And she has a book called When Trees Testify, a very different type of topic. And we welcome her to the show.
Hello, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. So, your work caught my attention. One, because it's a new topic, but also I have a niece who has a PhD in plant sciences.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And she teaches, I forgot what school she teaches at, what
Mm-hmm.
college. But her PhD was from a school in Ohio, I think. But she went to Florida A&M for her
Mm-hmm.
bachelor's.
Okay.
And then, but she was good at everything. But she
Mm-hmm.
just really, really enjoyed plant science. And I think she spent like a semester in Mexico
Oh,
doing her
wow.
master's work
Yes.
studying plants.
Awesome.
So, and that's kind of what you do. You're a plant biologist. Is that the same as a botanist? Are they basically the same?
They're very much the same, very much the same. Over time, you know how we start using different names for things, but very much people who are studying plants. So, yes.
Okay. And what started your plant fascination?
You know, when I was working on my bachelor's degree, I was majoring in biology, but I thought I was going to go to law school and do patent law, where you help write patents for scientific discoveries. But I spent some time working in a laboratory and fell in love with the idea of doing experiments and being able to just follow your curiosities, as a full-time career. And so decided then that I was going to go to graduate school to become a professor of biology. I wasn't sure at that time that I would study plants, but I took a plant physiology class. And the professor was so enthusiastic about the topic of plants that he drew me in with his enthusiasm. And then it took me back to connecting with my parents. So both of my parents loved to grow plants. My mom had, it seemed like hundreds of house plants. And both she
Oh,
and my dad did gardening. And so it was kind of all of those things that slowly took me to plants.
oh, okay. Wow.
Yes.
So it sounds like you also were strong in science too. You have to be
Yes,
strong
yeah.
in sciences.
Yes, I've always loved science and math since middle school.
Oh, okay. Yeah, science
Yeah.
was my weakest subject. But
Yeah.
anyway. English or math or history or anything that
Yes,
with that, but science,
not so much.
I could do it, but it was hard. The other ones came easier. It wasn't,
Yes, yeah, I get
uh,
that. I understand that.
yeah.
We each have our strengths.
We do, we do.
Yes.
And where are you from? Where'd you go to school?
So I'm originally from Little Rock, Arkansas, born and raised in Little Rock, Arkansas. My family is still there, my mother and my late father. And then I went to undergraduate in St. Louis at Washington University and then out to California. Going to school will take you some of everywhere. And then I worked first as a professor in Michigan, at Michigan State University
Oh,
for almost
okay.
20 years. Yeah.
Okay, so tell us about your new book.
Yeah.
And do
So
you
my,
have a copy of it with
You
you?
know what? I gave away my last copy, but I do have a picture of the cover.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, so my latest book is called When Trees Testify: Science, Wisdom, History, and America's Black Botanical Legacy. And I started writing about plants for the public to kind of, I come from a family where whatever we got, my mom said it belonged to all of us. So when I got plant knowledge, she said it belonged to all of us. So you're gonna have to break it down so we can understand it. And I started writing for the public kind of to live into that reciprocity. But this particular book is one that sits at the intersection of tree science, African American history, and family story. So it's part memoir, part African American history, and part science. And it really started with me visiting a former plantation in South Carolina and seeing a tree at one of those sites that was almost 600 years old, and
Oh,
realizing that that tree would have been alive at the time people were enslaved on the land. So we had this opportunity to stand with the same tree that would have been living with enslaved ancestors. And so in the middle of all of that, I just saw this deep connection of understanding the science of the tree, African American history, and then my own, being descended from people who were enslaved, my own family's history. So that's where the book started.
well, that tree was there before anyone discovered America.
That's right. That's right. It would have been there with indigenous people, right?
Right,
Yes. Yeah.
right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, trees live a long time.
They do. And I think one of the things that fascinates me about them is that they live so long that many generations can be with the same being. But also, I was at that site with my sister and son, and I said to them, the tree also holds our captured breath. Because when we exhale carbon dioxide, that gets converted to sugars through photosynthesis and then wood. So I said, these trees hold the captured breath of our ancestors. So we're actually standing in their presence. And so, that beauty of understanding science in a way that drew us to see these as not just living witnesses, but also beings that would have been with our ancestors and hold their breath just started to fascinate me so deeply.
Wow. And you mentioned in your book there were
Yes.
7 trees in particular.
Yes. Yes. I talked about 7 species of trees. So the tree that I saw in Charleston, South Carolina, is an oak tree. I also explored pecan trees just because in Arkansas there were lots of pecan trees where my parents grew up. Sycamore, poplar, mulberry, apple. And then I also include a chapter on cotton, which is not a tree, but with my family having grown up in Arkansas, I didn't see a way not to acknowledge the presence of cotton. But there's also a link to cotton with trees in that a lot of land in the South got deforested to
To
make
grow
cotton.
cotton.
Yeah, and so there's this link in in ecology with removing trees to make cotton growth possible.
Mm.
Yeah.
So, a lot of times when we think about trees, um, with our history,
Yes.
we think about the strange fruit
Yes.
and all of that. Do you weave that into
I
your book?
do. So maybe I might have missed it when I was naming them. There's a chapter on poplar, and it's for that particular reason. There were many types of trees used for lynching and hanging, but of course, poplar has this long history through. It's being documented in the song "Strange Fruit." I first heard Billie Holiday's version. Nina Simone has a version, and it's thought that that song was written by a white Jewish man. The lyrics of the song, and he had seen a picture of 2 Black men who had been hanged in a tree, and the tree that he saw them in was a poplar tree. And so that's how poplar got connected with a long understanding of lynching. So I do explore that. And I also in the book talk about how Although in America, we often hear our kind of contemporary white colleagues saying, you know, we weren't the one who owned slaves, so why do we have to deal with that? We still have people using lynching and nooses to kind of terrorize Black people. So I talk about it from its history all the way up into how it's still kind of used today to terrorize people, and you know, unfortunately.
Yeah, it would be if we could disconnect ourselves from our lineage, um, that would be something, but we
Yeah,
can't.
we can't. Yeah,
All of us are the product of our lineage,
absolutely,
whatever
absolutely.
whatever that is.
Yes,
And it's just like when people have a grandfather or a great grandfather that was a bootlegger or a drunk or
yes,
whatever.
yes,
And
yeah,
sometimes those things are passed down. I mean, even
yes,
scientifically now, we
yes,
know that they can be handed down from one generation to another.
yes,
So, and the hopes and dreams of our ancestors, or the vision, whatever vision they had,
yes,
they passed it on to their children, who passed it on to their
yeah,
children, and so forth. So we can say that we're not connected to that, but we are,
we
whether we
are.
like it or not. Now,
Exactly.
are we
Yeah.
responsible for the deeds of our ancestors? No, but we can't just pretend like things never happened.
We can't pretend it never
It's
happened.
honest. This
It
is,
is. That's right. Well, and I think it's, you know, what you're describing is that we have to accept the wholeness of who we are, the good and the
yeah,
bad. I heard you talking earlier to one of your guests about being a PK, right? And you,
yeah,
all kinds of things. You probably experience all kinds of things from
all,
good to shame in that, but
all
we
kinds of,
are the wholeness of who we are. And it's the good and bad parts. You know, I think also, um, ignoring it doesn't help. And I think a lot of times we just want to say, well, it wasn't us, it's in the past. But part of our systems are built upon all of those things. And so we have to be able to acknowledge it. I was listening recently to an interview James Baldwin had done with Alex Haley a long time ago. And
mm,
Alex asked James Baldwin, can America change? And James Baldwin said something to the effect that America can only change in so much as she can see herself as she truly and fully, you know, fully is. And I think that's part of our challenge is that we don't want to face the wholeness of who we are. We see revisionist history happening now, right? In terms of
yeah,
trying to write African American history and other forms of history out of American history.
or water it down,
Or water it down.
yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah, and
Absolutely. Yeah.
and and our history is not like anybody else's. And
Mm.
one thing I really don't like is when people try to pretend like it is. Like their
Yes.
experience is like ours. No, it's not. Nobody's is.
Yeah. No, that's very true.
Nobody's experience is anywhere close. Not in America, and not in the last 500 or 600 years anywhere in the world.
Yes. No, that's very,
So,
very true. Yes.
so
Yeah.
no, you can't pimp our history. You shouldn't. People do. You can't whitewash it. You can't say, well, it was the same. They used to have signs that said no Irish allowed. Yeah, but
Yes.
they didn't enslave the Irish, and
Yes.
they
It's
didn't. The Irish still could be white when if they
yes.
dressed up, they could be
Yes.
white. Like the whole thing about the Europeans is once they came here, they were no longer
That's
Irish or
right.
Italian or whatever. They were white.
That's
And
right.
so, you can't separate. You can't. You're being dishonest. Now,
Yes.
should I judge you based on the past that somebody else did? No, I have to judge you based on what you do.
Yes. Yeah.
But it's all connected.
No,
And
very much
my
so.
dad was a pastor. He wanted to be educated, but his
Mm.
father was a sharecropper. And
Hmm.
one of the things that he didn't like was he was out picking tobacco. My
Mm.
parents were in North Carolina.
Yes.
Um, and the little white kids would be riding a bicycle and going to school
Yeah.
while he was in the fields, whatever
Yes.
you could do at 8 years old or 9 years old in the fields. And he didn't like that. He wanted to go to school. So that was
No,
his
it's yeah.
passion.
Yeah, it's so interesting that you say that because I talk about that in the cotton chapter, how that was my parents' experience growing up in Arkansas. Instead of tobacco, it was cotton. And every spring, they were pulled out of school early to work
Mhm.
with their parents in the field. And my mother loved school. And I always say to people, she should have been the first professor in our family. I shouldn't have been the first one because she's really brilliant. But when you look at the reality of that, right, being pulled out every year,
Mhm.
it's hard to imagine. And I remember when I got my first job, I took her on a tour of one of the greenhouses where I worked, and she was in loving it, because I said to you, my mom and dad love plants. They were loving it. And then all of a sudden, she looked stricken and stopped talking. And my dad and I didn't know what happened. And she saw a cotton plant that was growing in the greenhouse with the white cotton on it. And it took her back to that
Oh,
disrupted childhood, right? And so many of us a generation away from
yes,
people,
yes,
yeah, we
yes.
think it was so long ago, but I
Right,
talked to
but
my mom this
no,
morning,
yeah,
right?
it's
So,
yeah, it's
yeah,
really actually amazing how much we've done in the last 50 years,
yes,
in terms of just people have been able to pursue
yes,
passions and get an
absolutely.
education. Um, so, and and our ancestors sacrificed and did without and
Yeah, absolutely.
protested so we
Yes,
could have those opportunities. So
absolutely.
I don't take that for granted ever. And so I honor their memory by, being my best person
Yes,
as much as I can. So,
absolutely.
mhm.
Absolutely.
So that's
Yes.
interesting about your parents. It was different. There were different crops in different parts of the country,
Yes.
but mostly it was cotton or tobacco.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think some people pick peanuts in different places, but in the
Yeah.
South, it
It
was
was cotton and
cotton and
tobacco. Yeah.
tobacco.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so when your mom, you said your family had plants everywhere,
Yes.
um, and all through the house, I guess indoors and out. Did you all
Yes.
have a garden? Did you all have
Yes, so
plants?
my dad loved vegetable gardening. And so we had both vegetable gardens, and then my mom had her rose gardens. She loved roses.
Okay.
And so she still, even now, my mom is 84, she still has her plants. And until as long as he could before he passed away, my dad was still growing way too many tomatoes. Everyone in the neighborhood got tomatoes and okra.
Okay. Wow.
Yes.
So you've
Yeah.
actually come by that naturally. I mean,
Yes, it's
you
interesting
lived it.
because, I still don't have the green thumb as much as my mom does, but I do my best. Yes.
Yeah. So is she um still in the same house that you?
No, so she and my father, we were born and raised in Little Rock, and then after we all moved out, they moved right on the edge of the city. So they have been in that house probably for almost 15 or 20 years. My dad passed away in 2019, but yeah, they moved to a couple acres, and so they had more land to do more vegetable gardening, and really enjoyed the last years of their time together there.
Okay.
Yes,
So when you know how kids play games that are
yes.
related to uh what they're around the kids in the neighborhood or
Hmm.
just what they are attracted to.
Yes.
So what were some of your games that you played?
Oh, we used to play so many games. Of course, we love to play hide and seek. I was trying to explain to a young lady the other day what jacks is. I don't think little girls play jacks anymore.
I
Um,
don't think so either. I haven't seen Jax in a
but we did
long
the
time.
double
We played
dutch and all of
Jax
that. Yeah, 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 yeah.
and the
And
bolo
then
bat. Now,
that's right.
different people called it. Some people didn't call it a bolo bat,
Yeah,
but we
yeah.
did.
Yes,
But you know
yeah.
what I'm talking
I
about? The
do. Yeah. And
paddle
then
with
the yes. Yeah.
with the
And then our
ball.
family games were my dad taught us all how to count on dominoes. We had to keep score on
Oh,
dominoes. And
okay.
then card games were spades. So it was always, I talk about that some in one of each of the chapters has usually a family story, whether it's me or me and my grandfather, me and my dad, because those were such precious moments. And we spent a lot of time outside, really
Yeah.
enjoying
Hmm.
games and nature. So
Yeah.
yes, yeah.
Hmm. And
Yeah.
even though that were you in like a rural area or was it?
No, so I grew up in Little Rock, Arkansas, but both of my parents had the cutest story. My parents' mothers, both of my grandmothers were best friends, and they wanted two of their kids to get married, so they couldn't just be best friends, they would be related. So my parents got married. And so all of the paternal and maternal families were there together in a rural area. So every
Oh,
summer we spent a lot of time in the country with my grandparents. Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, we did too. I lived in a small city. So
Okay.
uh so we had a
And you said
neighborhood.
in North Carolina or?
No, no, my parents are from North Carolina. Um, I'm from Virginia.
Oh, yes.
So
Yeah.
I'm from
Yeah.
Newport News. But when I
Okay.
was, my grandparents lived in North Carolina. So we did every summer we
Okay.
would go
Yes.
there. And
Yeah.
so they had the gardening. They
Yeah.
weren't picking tobacco anymore because they were older.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
they
Yes.
they were gardening and still canning,
Mm-hmm.
uh,
Yeah.
still baking biscuits from scratch,
Yes.
you know.
Yeah. I love Virginia. One of the first old trees I got to see in person was the Emancipation Oak in Hampton.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah. So some
okay.
beautiful, beautiful trees. Yeah.
Oh, I wonder what part of Hampton that's in.
It's actually right on the campus of the Hampton
Oh, Hampton
University there.
University. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Hmm.
it's believed, that's the tree they believe that the Emancipation Proclamation was first read to African Americans in Virginia. And it
Oh,
was
I
a
didn't.
site where one of the women there, she was educating Black children, even before some of them were free. So she was taking a risk. So I talk about that in the Oak chapter. Virginia, of course on the East Coast, but Virginia and the Carolinas have some beautiful old trees with some amazing
Hmm.
stories connected to
Yes.
them. So yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
This is a beautiful country there. And
Yes, yeah.
Arkansas, it has some. I've been through Arkansas several times
It's a
because
beautiful
I
state.
live in
Yeah.
Houston,
Okay.
but my family's from North Carolina, so we
Mm-hmm.
would do road trips
I see.
every year. And my daughter went to college in North Carolina, so
Okay.
we would take it's Texas 59, which goes
Mm-hmm.
north
That's
to
right.
Arkansas,
Yeah.
and so we would go through Arkansas to
Yes.
Tennessee,
Mm-hmm.
and then to North Carolina.
I
So
see. Yeah.
Arkansas is very nice.
It's a beautiful
So
state. Yeah.
it is,
Beautiful.
and
Yeah.
Little Rock is a it's sort of a unknown, little known, old touristy place,
It
but
is.
the
Yeah.
river there is really
It's
nice.
really nice. I enjoy getting back there. As I am the youngest of five siblings. All of us moved away at one point, but everybody's moved back other than me. So I'm still there quite a lot.
Okay, now where do you live now? That you may have
Where
said.
so my home base is in Des Moines, Iowa. This year I'm in right outside of Boston. I'm doing a 1-year fellowship working on my next book project. Um,
Oh, okay, so
yeah,
you're
yeah.
snowed in.
Oh yes, we got 18 inches of snow over the
Yeah, I
last couple
saw
of
on
days.
the
I felt like I
news.
was in a snow globe.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I've only been to Boston once, and
Okay.
it was in the winter.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
had a college friend that was in at Tufts
Okay.
years ago.
Yeah.
So that was the only time I've ever been to Boston.
That's
And
awesome.
yeah, it was very cold.
Yes.
And I don't know, this may just be my perception, and this has been a long time ago, but the people don't didn't seem very friendly. You know,
A lot of people have
people
said
are
that.
friendly in the South.
Yeah.
They
Yes.
speak,
Yes.
they acknowledge you.
No, it's interesting because when I moved to Michigan, and I was there for 18 years, when I first moved there, I was just speaking to everybody, and people were looking at me like, who is she talking to? And I was like, oh, the Southern roots don't leave
Yeah,
you.
yeah.
And then I
It's
would ask people, how are you? And they would walk off. I was like, no, it was a real question. I was waiting for an answer. So
yeah, the Southern hospitality.
it's a different
There's
thing.
a culture,
Yes.
and it doesn't exist as strongly as it did in the past,
No,
but it
that's
still
true.
does.
Absolutely true.
Yeah,
Absolutely true.
it's
Yes.
still
Yes.
and the further away from the city you get,
Yes.
the more you experience it.
That is true. I
Mm,
agree. Very much so. Yes.
yeah. So you said you're working on another book.
Yeah, so When Trees Testify was my second book. Um,
Okay.
my first book is Lessons from Plants.
Oh,
This
wow.
came out in 2021, and this was a book where I actually talked about how nature and plants have so much to teach us in terms of, when you look at plants in nature, they grow in diverse communities and they thrive better, how that's an example for us. I moved from that to this book, and then I've just started conceptualizing my next book, which is actually going to explore. There are a lot of Black feminist writers Nikki Giovanni, Jamaica Kincaid, Octavia Butler, who had really interesting relationships with plants and trees. So I'm going to explore that in my third book.
Really? Now that's kind of obscure that you would even pick up on that. That's
Yes.
like a thread. And a lot of times when you're a writer, or I really want to say like a person who thinks
Hmm.
conceptually,
Yeah.
um, you see threads and things that
Yes.
maybe other people miss.
Yes, yeah. Well, and I think the beauty of that is that we each do have different perspectives. We started out talking about our different strengths. And I think that with all the challenges and opportunities that we have in the world, it takes many different perspectives for us to think about things. And so mine happens to be through plants. Other people are thinking about it through, social sciences, psychology. You had some people on earlier. And I think we need
Yeah.
all of those perspectives to get us where we need to be. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's just so interesting how each individual is an individual.
Yes,
There are
yeah.
no two people that have the same exact experience,
That's right.
but there are some cultural things,
Yes,
you know,
yes,
eh, among African Americans, for example,
yes.
that are common. My friends talk about it when we get together, how even though we're all from different parts, like we weren't all raised in the same country,
Mm-hmm.
but and even at church, we talk about how the songs we sing the
Yes,
same songs,
yes, that's
even though
very
we were
true.
from different parts of the country,
No, that's very true.
and we had a lot of the same traditions that we
Mm-hmm.
passed down, a lot of the same sayings.
Yes.
Even now, they're sayings that we know, but other people don't know what it
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
is.
That's the beauty of, yeah. And sometimes that even extends beyond the US. I spend a lot of time in the Caribbean. I have really good friends in the Caribbean. And every time I'm in Jamaica, I was like, my son and I tease, he's like, black people are black people all over the world.
That is true.
Yeah.
That is true. So, you being in the plant sciences, I know my niece, she would experience situations where she would be the only black person a lot of the
Yes, yeah, yeah,
time.
yeah.
It's
Even
kind of
as you were saying your niece was in the plant sciences, I was thinking to myself, I wouldn't be surprised if our paths have crossed because there's so few of us professionally in the plant sciences. About 5 years ago, right after George Floyd, there was a lot of attention on us having a reckoning of Black people in America. And a lot of scientists started to get groups, and there was a Black birders group and a Black physics group. We had a Black botanist group. So I met a lot of the other Black women who've gotten their PhDs in the sciences through them. We actually have a listserv where we keep up with each other. So it's a shame we can count us on a couple of hands, but we are
yeah.
growing. We're growing a little bit. When I first came out, it was me and one other lady I knew. And so now I said there's enough of us that we are connected. So if I haven't met your niece, I'm sure I will at some point.
Yeah, you may have. Her name
Yeah.
is Aaliyah. So if you ever
Yeah.
run across an
Yes.
Aaliyah,
Small world, I'm sure.
yeah, it is. So thank you so much for being a guest on the
Thank
show.
you. Thank you so much.
Congratulations on your book. It's a very interesting conversation to learn
Thank you.
about.
Thank you for all the work that you all do, and good luck with your latest edition of your book as well.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Have a good night.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. So that's the end of the show for tonight. Rhonda will be with us next week. Since I have 1 minute, I'm going to again let you all know about my new edition of my book, the 2026 edition of Debt Free College Book. And also my team is in the Super Bowl. And so I want to say go Hawks. And that's it for tonight. So join us for next week's show, next Tuesday on Black Authors Matter TV. We have an amazing lineup. In fact, all of our shows are booked through the end of February, so completely booked. So we'll see you next Tuesday, and you have a great week. Good night.
Thank you for tuning in, and join us next Tuesday at 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern for another edition of Black Authors Matter TV.